Our wonderful viewers, you're welcome to your darling station, the Living TV, where we bring the world first to you. Welcome to another segment of our program, Nigeria Today. Nigeria Today is a current affairs program of the Living TV. And I'm sure today you will be happy as you sit down, relax, watch and listen to our discussion today. As usual, my regular viewers and regular host is no other person but Chinedu Adiele as we kick off for the day. Today, because of so many stories about the refineries in Nigeria, importation of fuel and so on, the old Port-Harcourt Refinery will become functional again by December this year. The Minister of State for Petroleum and Petroleum Resources, Chief Timipriya Silva, announced this yesterday. Council, I'm sure you've also heard that.
Yes, we now deem it expedient to fix the refinery that has been there since. They've tried to find oil in the north, crude oil. Billions, if not trillions, spent on that particular white elephant project that did not see the light of day. And then we've created all kinds of infrastructure in Niger Republic, including siting a refinery there and piping oil to that place. It's been necessary to hold down the refineries in Nigeria so as to find a justifiable, in quote, reason to cite that one in Niger. This present administration, whenever they tell us anything, we keep our gunpowder dry, we watch. They have flown their kite. It's just a way. So that is the one. For 7 years, they've not done anything. They've not even bothered to tinker with it. The staff there, they are being paid for 7 years for doing nothing. Just as they are about leaving, because they must leave. Suddenly they have remembered that they need to fix the refineries.
But earlier this year, Council, you remember this administration announced billions of naira voted in for the rehabilitation of this refinery. So I think that was early this year, the beginning of this year. And by now, everyone had believed that the refinery would have been very functional. And the delay. Are you suggesting that the delay is as a result of their interest in making sure that they will see oil either in the north?
Definitely, or get that in the refinery in Niger.
I know there used to be a cement industry in this country, in this part of the globe.
Not one.
How many of them are functioning now?
Benue cement industry, Kalago, and I think Ibeto had one. Yes. Policy was used to strangulate them, and today none of them is functional, but except the one owned by the private individual from a certain part of the country.
All right, with what is happening with the announcement, are we supposed to rejoice and be happy that actually...
Reason why it didn't work.
Do you think it's possible?
Very likely, even. Very, very likely. We will defeat insurgency in 6 weeks. No. In 3 months. No. In 6 months. Okay, we have technically downgraded insurgency. We have marginally defeated Boko Haram. We have tangentially dealt with them. We have, and so on and so forth.
Okay, if you remember the Mr. President's comment in his visit to Owerri, he said...
no, honesty, I don't...
I'm sure he didn't carry the presidency down to Owerri, so he was...
No, the presidency can talk from anywhere. The presidency can talk. Mr. President was here in Owerri, yes, but the presidency is all over the place. Even abroad, they can talk from anywhere. So I don't know why he decided to make that statement and also say that Nigerians did not appreciate what he has done. We are grateful and appreciate what? The economy that is in shambles. Is that what we are to appreciate? Are we to appreciate the highest level of insecurity almost anywhere in the world today? This administration took over in 2015. Nigeria was the #1 economy in Africa and was, I think, either I wouldn't really remember, about number 26 or so in the world. Moving from there in the space of 7 years down to the poverty capital of the world. And Mr. President expects us to appreciate that he has done what?
Swallow who can sing. Not
an administration where animals swallow millions and billions of currency and nothing happens. Snake will swallow today, tomorrow chimpanzee, another day python, and so on and so forth. They chewed it. Can only happen in Nigeria.
Okay, let us believe that by December, the Port-Harcourt Refinery will be revisited and it will start functioning again. Let us believe Mr. President this time and see how it goes. We will still be here to talk about it when it will be commissioned.
If.
All right. It will happen if the constitution of the party is amended. What do you think is happening between the national chairman and Atiku? Why insisting on this remaining? If this time is not Wike, so that people will not say because Wike failed and the presidency was not accepted as the vice president candidate of the party, and that is why he's fighting. But this time, I think it's a different region, though south, but southwest this time.
Well, it was under, don't forget, it was under the watch of ASUU that Atiku Abubakar emerged as the presidential. But for those that are attacking it from the angle they are attacking it, is that you cannot have the presidential candidate coming from the north and the national chairman also being from the north. That there was this understanding they had at the time they were selecting ASUU as of mind to step down, throw in the towel for the general good of the party, so that the party could make progress, more so with elections at our doorsteps. If it's something that elections had just been concluded and not coming up immediately, well, the sit-tight syndrome might be tolerated. But right now, remember that in APC, there's this, you might begin to understand why these governors are now becoming vocal. Initially, it was only Governor Wike of Rivers State, and a lot of people saw personal interest in what Wike was doing and said he was a poor loser. But with these other ones who didn't contest and didn't lose any primaries, coming forward to say, look at the issue, and looking at it, it is right. Atiku Abubakar, of course, is entitled to his opinion. But at the same time, he goes into election and the party loses because people have that mindset that, look, the North wants to dominate. It wouldn't help anybody at the end of the day.
All right, with what is happening, the way things are, right from the time of the contest, the primary election with the PDP presidential election and so on, do you think, or don't you think that Atiku Abubakar has insistence on yes, the national chairman, ASUU, remaining there, will spell
to such a minimal extent that it wouldn't really make much difference.
And maybe that is why, that is, from your thinking and view, that is why Atiku is insisting. Because he has done his political calculations and arithmetics and know that whether the whether Ayocha is gone or remains, is not going to affect him in any way.
Speculative, yes.
But not blocking that. Which other way would they have shown their displeasure and unhappiness?
I'm happy you've asked the last question, which other way would they have shown it? I am surprised that the students have not done what they did before now, all this while. They had to wait for getting to 6-7 months now before doing it. I'm also surprised that they have not occupied ASUU Rock and have not occupied the National Assembly, because these are the people that it would affect. I wouldn't expect them to go and block the highway again, because it will be impacting on they hadn't done this all this while. Those around Abuja will converge at the villa, share themselves into 2 groups, one at the villa, one at the National Assembly, occupy them for 1 week. Those in the states will occupy the states for 1 week to draw attention. Nothing violent. Just go and sit down on the floor. The press will carry it. Sit down on the floor in front of the government house. Nobody will enter, nobody will come out. You go to National Assembly very early, the same thing. Just sit down on the floor, not violent, not attracting any sanctions or retaliation from the security agencies. They were being violent. That's why we had to disperse them with tear gas and so. No, just go there and sit down, like Mahatma Gandhi used to sit. I also sympathize with the lecturers. I have repeatedly on this program made a point, which is that the 2 sides should come out and state what are the issues. The federal government has offered money. ASUU said no, it is too little. Is it only money that they are asking for? Yeah. Let us, what are the issues? And they will say, out of all our demands, they have met only one. How many demands? What are those demands? Some of us can now begin to lend our voices, either to support or to be against it. But there is, will I say, there seems to be this convenient conspiracy of silence between ASUU and the federal government as to what really are the issues.
The impact of these students who are absent.
When you're on the dining table eating, you cannot be condemning and criticizing the food. When you are there, okay. Yes. So he is the Minister for Works, under the African Charter of Peoples and Human Rights. That's why I say when they enter there, it's like his younger brother Kayamo. Once they enter the place and start eating, they seem to forget, or they no longer know the difference between right and wrong. They will just be talking anything so that the chef who is serving them food will not get angry and stop serving.
Finally, before we go on break, don't you think there should be a law in this country that will force both the ministers, the government, even right from...
Elsewhere, no person who is holding public office would have the conscience to send his child even to private institution, talk less of outside the country, except in very rare cases, maybe specialization, and so on and so forth. So, talking about laws, you want to stop them from doing it. Who will make the law?
The same people.
So you expect them to make laws to chain themselves and their children. That would be asking for too much.
Those in the federal house should understand. still there watching Living TV. We'll bring the world first to you. Still your favorite program, Nigeria Today, the current affairs program of the Living TV, Living Television. All right, continuing. Militant leaders of the Niger Delta region are currently at war over the 4.5 billion. Sare Dokobo is alleging that since this contract was made, that all of them, the ex-militant leaders, been sidelined. That Tompolo has refused to bring them into the. He has done it on verbally. They've been war of words and then until now, and then he's still worried about that. The question there is about 4.5
means of livelihood. I'm a lawyer by training primarily. You are a journalist primarily. What is their own? You see, truth also be told, in fairness to Sare Dokobo, if that contract was originally awarded to all of them, and now one person wants to corner it, you don't expect the rest to keep quiet. A stage where the government would have to bow to pressure. That's what I expect that will play out. If somebody has been eating and for no real cause, or none that you have told us, you suddenly want to take food away from that person, you should expect some resistance, some protest. You don't expect that person to go down quietly.
But as a Nigerian who also lives very close to the Rifinary area, where they
will now be placated the more. So there are pockets of dissidents, even from amongst the militants, that either are not accommodated, who now say, okay, let's now go and make things difficult, or since I am not brought into that one, let me continue to siphon crude oil and go and sell, so that I will also have something to eat. So everybody is struggling. The government has not bothered to make militancy unattractive. I'm not talking of use of force.
Name of militancy and protection of and surveillance of oil pipeline. Was it just to calm the militants down from the then kidnapping? Because we know that because of their complaint, the kidnapping was so incessant then at that area before now it escalated to other areas. Was it just to actually calm them down, or were they meant to actually carry out the surveillance of pipelines?
It wasn't just to calm them down, but that's why I said the government needs to get its priorities right. Not just calming down these people. You and I would also agree that to some extent, even a large extent, kidnapping has abated in the crude oil. If they get it cheaper, of course not at the official rate, assuming government is selling at $22 per barrel, and then they get somebody who is willing to sell to them at $10 or $15 a barrel, they will buy.
Yes.
More, cheaper. And by the time they finish buying, they will not enter into the territorial waters to go and lift the official crude. They will just continue taking it out from international waters. So that is also impacting on the economy.
347 refineries, illegal refineries. Why have we been crying about refineries?
That also is the problem. We've had people engaging in illegal extraction of solid and places ownership and control of the items listed therein, including solid mineral, liquid mineral, anything that is mineral, in the domain of the federal government. But the only place the federal government is interested in showing its power is in the mineral found in the south. The ones in the north are being extracted either by the states in which those minerals are found or by private individuals, and start, bringing out crude oil. Federal government no longer has access to it, and he will sell directly to the federal government and get the much needed revenue that these states will use to develop. Rivers will do their own. All the states in the Niger Delta, oil producing area, Imo, Delta, and so on and so forth. And then these other states will also do their own. That is actually Niger State that maybe the government might take control of. Also considering that it has some hazardous side effects. So people are not, private people, to get it out requires some special skill. But for others, anything found anywhere, the states there, take it. So if they could allow the states in the north to be extracting and paying royalty to federal government on the radio, they should also allow those in the south to do so.
Okay, don't you also think that maybe because of the minerals found down here, and that
they are predominantly from certain parts of the country that do not even have a cup of oil in their place, but they are the ones that control the oil. And the ones that own the oil are unable to control it. So that's why you keep on having the agitation for resource control. And that's why, when you have political power, you now use it to determine policy. Policy regulates how you handle every other thing. So you make the policy that nobody can come near except through government. Nobody can see the father except through the son. But some other times you're allowed to go direct to the father if it's from some other place. Do not have a perfect history. Indeed, no country of the world has a perfect history. But some nations of the world thrive in infamy, notoriety, as far as history is concerned. Recollect that a professor, originally from Nigeria, in history, but the lady went ahead to justify why she said so. Even as she was doing it, several commentators from different parts of the world started bringing to the fore their own experiences about the UK as a nation, United Kingdom or Britain or Great Britain, whichever. Negative comments about what Britain as a country, and of course by extension the Queen, did. Now step it down to Nigeria. When we were about having the civil war, from the records, the Queen was in a position as a mother to prevent that war. Did the Queen and her country do nothing? Recall also that about that time, no less a person than Dr. Akanu Abiam of blessed memory, God rest his soul, happened on the scene, and he was a knight of the British Empire, having received a knighthood from the Queen. And in that capacity, this is something that is highly valued. Not the knighthood given by the church today, that given by the Queen, very rare. He wrote a detailed in the conspiracy. And what did she do? Nothing. Again, silence. In frustration, Dr. Akanu Abiam had to toss in the towel as a knight. He abandoned the knighthood, returned it to the Queen and said, if that is the way your knighthood is, I will no longer take it back. It makes no meaning to me makes no meaning to me. It is perfectly useless. And that's why history will judge Dr. Akanu Ibiam fairly. That's why history is now judging the Queen unfairly in some quarters. So you will now begin to understand. The little boy from Kaduna State, who happens to be the son of the governor, Governor El-Rufai, came out also to say something similar, thanking the Queen for placing the Northerners, particularly Fulani, at the top. Rather than separate them and make peace between them, you now go and bring Odu, and give to one of the children, say, smash, you are the senior, smash the head of the junior one. That was exactly what she did, and that role on the part of a mother is not the best.
So a particular writer wrote and said that the idea of a particular state in the north to write born to rule is as a result of the Queen's role.
Exactly.
You agree with that?
Of course. Of course.
Okay.
It's out there. See, if you also want to know a little bit, you know, they have stopped the teaching of history in our schools. But go to the museum in Umuahia, the War Museum. Bring out a day. Take the pains to read through themselves, and these nations were shedding crocodile tears. It's very painful, but history is still there. I'm sure they wouldn't tear it out after this program. It will still remain there for you to see.
All right, before we go, I want us to look at this budget presentation. The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbagami-Amila, has said that President Muhammadu Buhari is scheduled to present the proposed 19.76 trillion naira 2023 appropriation bill to the National Assembly in the first week of October. And you've been here for quite a long time.
Better and higher, and we're able to do so much. Now that we are hearing about billions, hundreds of billions, and then going into trillions, we don't seem to be seeing anything. I also concede that our population there is different from what it is today. I concede that fact. However, I expect better and more judicious use of whatever little is available. If we have to borrow to execute capital projects, you're not going to hold any person during audit. We shared it to people. Who are you seeing?
Which people? Who are the people? I am a Nigerian, I didn't say it. So I don't know what they are talking about. They're less, as usual, to our neighboring countries.
Or the akika, the termite, call it akika, that ate the last one, or the snake that swallowed, or the chimpanzee.
19.763 trillion naira is not a small amount of money, and that I think all the federating units of this nation should take part. And should
of each fiscal year, you're supposed, even by the time of presentation of the budget, you're supposed to demonstrate the budget performance of the previous fiscal year.
Yes.
I don't know what we do. You see things, Senator Abaribe some time ago carpeted the federal government about every time he took care of it. But every year it features in the budget. Every year it will feature in the budget that, yes, we are going to spend 80 billion naira on cutlery. So he was asking whether the people that would reside in ASUU Rock or their visitors, after eating the dinner, they eat the cutlery or they go with the cutlery. It sounds funny, but
it is. Well, talking about that, I think it is also proper to say that corruption has enough room, because I remember here sometime in Abia State, a particular institution, a man used 200 million to clear a field.
That's not in Niger State. Your facts.
A particular person used 200 million to clear the new site.
I have
the
not.
New site of Abia Polytechnic.
Okay, I do not have.
Yes.
I do not have that.
But I don't mention the name.
I don't have that fact. I
All
have
right,
mentioned the one I am sure of.
Okay. All right. Before we go,
And they started calling him grass cutter.
That is Uchi.
Yes, they even had to remove him from office.
All right. The Prime Minister
is repeating what he had earlier on said. This is not the first time the Prime Minister.
And because nobody is doing anything about it, and maybe that's why he has to repeat it.
No, people are lending their voices. You go on the social media, the PDP is attacking that position. Other political parties are equally attacking that position.
But nobody has been so vocal to call it Islamization of Nigeria.
I think others have.
I
aware.
heard it first from him.
From me, okay. I am aware that others have said so, okay. Including this same man I mentioned now as leader of the Northern Christians. Yes, they are not happy with it. They have called it the Islamic agenda to Islamize Nigeria. So the Prime Minister 7 months going to 7 years, going to the 8th year now, is APC. Have they listened to anything anybody has said? Look at that of ASUU. Let's start from that one. We had earlier on dealt with it today. So what has changed? Nothing. That is the pattern of APC. That is their tradition. That is whatever they decide they are going to do. It does not matter who is crying. They don't listen to anything. They don't. So once they make up their mind they are going to do something, they will go ahead and do it. They will do it, and if the heavens like, let the heavens fall. If they want to go to the Supreme, that's APC for you.
Well, I don't think there is much need to cry more about what is happening. Make good use of your PVC, and that's all. And that's when we're waiting for the whole thing. This is no time to say my vote will not count. I think it will count this time. On this note, we are coming to the end of today's program. And remember, this is Living TV. Queries about that, and make sure you're part of this moving trail, and I'm sure you won't regret it. Having said that, remember tomorrow we'll be having our program Issues of the Moment. Just keep watching Living TV. Before we go, remember I had a discussion today, you already know too well, Barrister Chukwuemeka Uwogu. Barrister, thank you for being part of this program.
Thank you, sir.
And this is Chinedu Adele, you are command, signing off. Don't touch your dial. Keep watching other programs of Living TV until we come your way again.
Ambition to be millionaires is running the country down. We all want to be millionaires and to live in the air. Oh, let's save Nigeria so Nigeria won't die. Which way Nigeria? Which way Nigeria? Which way to go? Which way to go? I love my fatherland, Nigeria. Which way? Heaven and earth will pass away. It is written in the book of God. The good people will surely find their ways, and the meek will inherit the world. Let's save Nigeria.